Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 14 of Two Girls, One Crime. I'm Emily, this is Megan.
Hello.
I was waiting to see what you would do. We are back for another episode. This is crazy that it's episode 14. Today we are going to be talking about the Idaho murders and Brian Koberger. So this is a pretty big one because we lived through this, which a lot of them that we've been talking about we've been looking back on in time, but this one I fully remember everything that would come out on TikTok or social media or anything like that. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember living through this as well. I also remember it being whoa, four people got murdered and it just was a bizarre turn of events.
I know, and we were in college at the time, so it was just obviously not close to Idaho, but it's scary just knowing that something like that can even
Well, we
happen.
lived together during that time, and I remember being in my head, and I remember one night in particular, I go, Emily, what if a killer was gonna break in and it would be another Brian Koberger?
Yeah,
I'm
and my
saying
room
his
was
name.
closest to the front door, which
Yeah.
she loved to enlighten me about. She'd be
I
like, well,
loved.
I'm actually farthest away, so you're out of luck.
Yeah, but either way, murder is
We
very
need it.
sad, and we want
Yeah.
to educate you all on this very
Mm-hmm.
topic and all the individuals involved and what has come with it today, even though there's
Mm-hmm.
still developments. But the main part of it is all gone. Well,
Mm-hmm.
all done now.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, feel free to get into the background. Megan's going to start as well.
Yeah. So per usual, going over just the main individuals involved. So I'm gonna say a couple of different names, and then we'll most likely identify them as the four victims throughout, but giving them a
Mm-hmm.
moment to kind of talk about who they were.
Mm-hmm.
So first and foremost, there were four college students. They ranged from 20 to 21, so juniors and seniors in college. Ethan Chapin was a 20-year-old from Conway, Washington. He was a triplet enrolled in University of Idaho. Um, this was interesting. He was a freshman technically, but I think he was just a old freshman. But he majored in sports management. He was active in his fraternity, and he was dating our next victim, who was Xana Kernadel. Um, she was also 20 years old from Arizona. She was a marketing major, and she was a member of her sorority as well, so very active in the community, and they were dating one another. I believe they were dating for a decent amount of time, but not
Mm-hmm.
years.
Mm-hmm.
Kaylee Gonclaves, who is one of the main individuals who they believed was targeted during this time. She was 21 years old, majored in general studies, and was a member of her sorority as well. That's how I believe Xana and Madison all knew each other. And she grew up in northern Idaho. And then we have Madison Mogan, who is 21-year-old senior from university as well. Marketing, involved in sorority, was working. So they were all just normal college students at the time. She grew up in
Mm-hmm.
Idaho as well. Um, and for the purposes of this, we're going to focus solely on those four. There were two other roommates who were living at the house,
Mm-hmm.
but they ended up surviving this gruesome crime, and they are sometimes in the news, sometimes not. But for this purposes, there was six of them, or five of them living in the house, and at the time, Ethan was over. So that's when we get into who the perpetrator was.
Yeah, so we've definitely all heard this name in the news or social media or anything. Brian Koberger. My computer died, so I can't see what his middle name was. But he is 28, and he was 28 at the time. He was a resident of Washington. He was actually a student at Washington State University. He studied criminal justice. He was a teaching assistant. He wanted to become a professor. People at Washington State University actually kind of talked about him and reported feeling uncomfortable. Mostly women were uncomfortable by his behavior between August of 2022 and November of 2022. He would follow them to cars. He would not be equal in the grading of his students, from male to female. They said that they were graded poorly compared to their male
Classmates.
classmates. Thank you. So yeah, I do find it so creepy that he studied criminal justice and like kind of knew all of that, which is really freaky.
Yeah, and I think though, like, it's even more interesting because, like, I don't think anybody could have guessed that it was him up until he didn't even live in the same state. There are things where even to this day there's kind of some uncertainty of really what this was because there wasn't a true full trial examining evidence, which we'll get into, but definitely it's interesting now looking back on this where there's reports, all these things, nothing happened of it. They didn't fire him, they didn't get rid of him, there's nothing.
Yeah. It is. It's freaky to know that he did have these behaviors beforehand, and like you were saying, kind of, it's scary to think that there was maybe some motive behind it, but also that like Kaylee was kind of the one who was mainly targeted. So we're gonna get into all of it, but he's definitely kind of a creepy man, and
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, with that being said, having those 5 individuals, so there's a couple of names that are going to be thrown out. Keep in mind, main victims' names are Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee. For those of you who want to keep track of kind of the details here. So kind of going into really what happened the night of the murders. All of the roommates and Ethan were in the house by 2 in the morning on November 13th of 2022. So that night they had gone out. Ethan and Xana went to a campus party but came back, and then Maddie and Kaylee went to the bar in Idaho. Where I don't know exactly the town the University of Idaho
Moscow.
Is in. Moscow, that's exactly what it is. So they went out downtown, then they all came back. And again, all home before 2 in the morning. So between 2:26 in the morning and 2:52 in the morning, so about 30 minutes after they got home, Kaylee and Maddie both made several unanswered calls to Kaylee's former boyfriend. At the time, they kind of thought that there wasn't really any true connection into this. At one point, I do know that they were investigating the ex-boyfriend, but he was cleared of everything, and they just think it was 2 girls who were drinking, trying to contact Kaylee's ex, which is very normal in college. Happens time to time.
Not to either of us, but it happens.
Not to either of us, but it does happen. So then, after kind of further investigation, the police detectives found that the murders occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:30-ish, 4:25 in the morning. So this was about an hour and a half after the phone calls. Still to this day, they don't know exactly what happened. They're going off of the roommates who were in the home, and what cell phones and all those things were kind of saying, but here's kind of a layout of what they think happened. So Xana, the girlfriend of Ethan, appeared that she was awake when the killer came into the house. She got her DoorDash food to her around 4 in the morning, and her phone was reported to be online or on TikTok at 4:12 in the morning. Dylan Morrison, who is one of the roommates, and did live through this entire thing, was asleep on the 2nd floor, and she heard a noise on the 3rd floor. And keep in mind, this house was like 4 floors, and it was just set up in a very odd way.
Yeah, no, like, I think it was the 2nd or 3rd floor was actually like the 1st floor.
Yeah, and then one was like the basement. Yeah, it was very odd.
So I think he entered on
the
technically,
main
I guess, the
floor.
third floor, which I think was the main floor. I don't know. It's
Mm-hmm.
very
It was
the
very odd,
they've
and
shown
there's
a lot of layouts of it, but it's like kind of confusing how it's all talked about.
for sure. So pretty much this roommate thought that Kaylee and her dog were upstairs doing something, and that's what she heard as the noise.
Hmm.
She told the police she heard somebody, and she doesn't know who, say that there was someone there. She
Hmm.
thought it was Kaylee, um, but police think it was Xana, so she doesn't know exactly who it was, but it was somebody talking to someone saying there's someone here.
Hmm.
Um, Dylan creaked open her door a little bit and she looked out the door. She didn't see anything. Um, and again, this is a lot of different perspectives, but she claims that she heard screaming and crying from Xana's room. And she opened the door again. She claims at this point she heard some male's voice say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." She still didn't see anything at the time, but heard this.
Hmm.
Um, she kind of closed her door again and kept opening and closing. She opened it one last time a little bit, and she saw a tall man in black clothing, had a black mask on over his mouth and nose. So all she could really see was his eyes.
Hmm.
And he walked past her and out the glass door, and that was it.
Hmm.
She claims, and a big part of why they thought the roommates were involved in this in some way was because they didn't call 911 or anything until hours later. She claimed she was intoxicated and she just wasn't kind of aware what was going on. She didn't really want to think that someone broke into the house.
Hmm.
So she just went off to sleep, thinking that she just imagined it or it was just all in her head, which I think it's odd that you wouldn't call the police, like even if you were drunk and there was something happening. I know I would call the police, but
Yeah.
at the same time I do understand where you're like, "Oh, like maybe it's just all in my head, like it's going to be fine
And
when I
all
wake
of
up."
them are drunk. They've all been drinking. Like, of course, you're not in the right state of mind, but it is. I do agree with you. It's a little odd that
Yeah.
nobody or the other two living ones didn't call.
Especially
Um,
like they were, I believe, texting one another back and forth, the two surviving roommates,
mhm.
being like, something's going on, like, what is that? And still nobody thought, like, oh, maybe we should get somebody involved.
Yeah. So actually, at like 4:26, 4:30, Dylan went downstairs to join the other surviving roommate who was named Bethany Funk. Um, so again, like you were saying, they were texting. She went downstairs to join her. On her way downstairs, she actually saw Xana lying on her bedroom floor, but just thought she was intoxicated and sleeping. Um, so I think they were all trying to text each other. Obviously, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
them weren't responding. And so after not hearing anything from any of the other roommates, like during the whole night, when they woke up in the morning, they asked some friends to come over to kind of check it out with them. And at 11:55 in the morning, they called 911 and requested help with an unconscious person. Um, so they did end up calling 911, but I do remember that being a huge thing. Like, why did they wait till the next morning or like hours
Mm-hmm.
later? Like, you know, we'll
Even the
never really
laying
know.
on the floor, like, you
Right.
see someone laying on the floor and you still didn't say anything. But again, it's like, I also, us being college roommates, right? Like, I think I would be mortified if I saw you, like, dead on the
Right.
floor. Like, I don't think I could even allow myself to
Well,
look at that.
right. Right. And I think that's why they, called some other people over in the morning. But still, like, I feel like you would just have like a feeling that something was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you've heard screaming, you saw this man in your house, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So, unfortunately, like we said, that day, the four victims were all pronounced dead. They were all stabbed to death. Thankfully, there was no sign of like assault or any restraints or anything like that. Obviously, horrible, and there were a lot of defensive wounds on all of them, which is very brave of them. Like, I don't know what I would do in a situation like that. Like, my body would just shut down. So, really brave of them. Thankfully, no assault or anything, but unfortunately, they were pronounced dead on that same exact day. Um, So, kind of moving to the investigation side of things, there really weren't any immediate suspects or any immediate motive from the local authorities. Like we said, that Brian Koberger was kind of like, we'll get into him obviously and like why he
Mm-hmm.
was, a suspect to begin with, but there really was no suspects or motive to begin with. The local, state, federal agencies all spent a lot of time on this case collecting like every single piece of forensic evidence, all former police like surveillance footage, like a lot. Their house was definitely a party house, so there were a lot of like noise complaints that came in, and the
Mm-hmm.
police showed up at their house a lot. So they went through like a lot of tips, a lot of surveillance footage, all of that. After this crime, obviously, all the surveillance footage around the neighborhood. There was a white Hyundai Elantra seen, and this was seen around the crime scene, obviously the morning of, day of, but also like previously, and they focused a lot on this.
See, I
Um,
remember like when they couldn't find all of this or they had no suspects or no. I remember how freaked out like everybody was because they were like, this person could be anywhere. Like, he
yeah,
just killed
especially
this.
when they had the car, and then they were
Mm-hmm.
like, "We know it's someone in this car," and then like everybody was like, "Where's the car?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's crazy like watching stuff like that unfold over social media. That like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like it like obviously was like we were a target audience for this information because we were college kids about the
Yeah.
same age, but still it's like it's so crazy to just see it all unfold. Like, ugh, yeah,
Yeah.
craziness. Um, so yeah, the police kind of said, like I said earlier, that the victims were likely asleep during the killing. Some had defensive wounds, but no sexual assault signs. The Moscow police did affirm that this quadruple homicide was actually part of a targeted attack,
Mm-hmm.
which horrifying.
Yeah.
Eventually, they did focus on Brian Koberger, which we'll talk about later, all the evidence that they had. He was, like we said, a graduate student who studied criminology, psychology. They did link him to this case through DNA found on a knife that was found nearby their house, nearby the scene, and obviously tracked his phone through his vehicle, or tracked his phone, and that showed his vehicle location. He ended up being arrested in Pennsylvania on December 30th of 2022, which again,
That's
I
where I think his
remember.
parents lived. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So he like right after fled back to, yes, I think it's his parents' house. And I remember that whole thing, like seeing the video of him being
Oh,
like
like
pulled
the
over, and I was
police
like,
footage? Mm-hmm. I
yes,
remember this as well. Well,
yeah.
and I think
So,
I remember it being like they hadn't released why they thought it was him at the time,
hmm
and it was like, why are they just arresting this random man in Pennsylvania? Like, it makes no sense. And then when
yeah,
they, while we're going through all the evidence and such, it's crazy when you start to be like, oh my gosh, this guy was doing things that are so sketchy. You never would have
hmm
imagined it in that moment.
ugh, yeah. It's really scary. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's really interesting as like people who like to learn about this type of stuff, which like it never makes it less scary or horrifying or just sad, but it's it's and I hate to say
You're
it's really
definitely more
interesting.
aware.
Yeah, and it's just like you find a lot of like these little connections through all the cases that we've looked at least, and you're just like, oh, like I can never imagine doing this. Like it's so scary that like people have
Thoughts about
this
doing this or they did
thought
it
and
and
like
then they just
actually
move on. Yeah.
exactly just drive back to Pennsylvania.
Yep. Have a good
Oh
life.
my god, no.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, kind of getting into the evidence of really what got him caught.
hmm
Or at least like per like issuing a warrant for his arrest.
Yeah,
Um
becoming like the
so
main suspect and like
yes, all the things. So Kohlberger had a pillow and there was like a reddish brown kind of blood like stain that was on it.
Hmm.
He had disposable gloves that he was using, and we'll kind of talk about what he was using them for. And they found like dozens of strands of hair. I don't know. I don't think they ever clarified if it was any of the students' hair.
Mm.
And maybe they did, and I'm just missing that.
I
But
think they did, but I don't remember who it was. I don't
yeah,
know if
it
they
was
said who it
hair
was.
that they found,
Yeah,
hair that they found that was
linked
suspicious.
in that. Yeah, exactly.
So for the medical gloves or disposable gloves, he had four medical style gloves, so heavy duty ones,
Hmm.
a silver flashlight, a DNA test kit as well, which was just, you could argue that he's a criminology student,
Yeah.
PhD student. Okay, let's move past that one. The main one
Also,
that
like
they
the first thing you learn in like criminology classes, like
is DNA
is
testing.
talking about DNA and
Yeah,
like how it's literally everywhere you touch, or like your one little strand of hair has like things to identify you, or like
yeah.
obviously he knows every
So
single thing you touch, everything you do,
So
all of your
obviously,
details.
Emily, that's a hypothetical. He could just have one of those for fun.
I
Um,
mean, don't
we
we
don't know.
all?
We don't know.
No.
The one that really got him, they never found the actual murder weapon, but
Mm.
they found a knife sheath, so like the leather part of the outside of a knife,
Mm-hmm.
um, at an off-campus home which had his DNA on it.
Mm-hmm.
There was other male DNA that was found at the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, some of this DNA stuff, since they never went into the trial, we don't know exactly specifics, but
Mm-hmm.
whatever. They found, as Emily said earlier, they found Kohlberg's phone near the crime scene 23 times
Yeah.
before the murder, and it was going back to August of that year. Um, on top of that, they watched him remove or wear gloves to take out the trash at his parents' house. And a big part of that is they thought that he was removing some of the evidence, oh, that could find him guilty. And
Yes.
he did that by wearing gloves to not be seen. So, all of that in mind, these are just some of the things, and some of the things we probably won't ever know because it wasn't released in the trial.
Right.
Um, but yeah, there's a couple things where most normal people wouldn't do that. Like, I don't take my trash out with surgical gloves.
No. Even if it's like gross, I am washing my hands after. I'm not putting
No,
surgical gloves on. Yeah.
no, I'll take it out with
No.
my bare hands.
Right. And it is like scary. Like, yes, he lived in Washington, but where he lived in Washington was literally like, I think, a 20-minute drive from where they lived in Moscow.
It was pretty, like, easy of a drive, and even to this day, they still don't necessarily know why he did it. And
Hmm.
again, there was no trial with juries or anything,
Yeah.
so we'll never get the full reason. We don't even, like, he for sure did it, but there's no way to tell, like, okay, why, because they never really got to those aspects, which I know the
Yeah.
family is still very confused. But a lot of the people think that he found Kaylee on Instagram, kind of
Hmm.
became obsessed with her. And because he's a criminology major, he had some messed up idea that he could commit a murder and get away with it.
Hmm. My question is like, why everybody in the house except for those two? Like, there's a lot of like pieces that are missing. Like, we always talk about this, but like, was it, besides Kaylee, I guess, but like, was it just wrong place, wrong time? Like, it's just, it's strange because it wasn't even like everybody was on the same floor. Like,
Well, they weren't
they
in
were
the
all spread
same
out.
room either.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I
So
don't
it,
know. I truly have no idea why. Like, and
yeah.
also, you're a student who decides to go kill more students. Like, I just don't see the purpose. Like, he didn't get anything
Yeah.
out of it.
Yeah. No. Um, And like Megan said, there was no like trial, but we do know that last year he pleaded guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 of burglary. This was like part of a plea agreement that I guess like removed the possibility of
The
the death
death
penalty.
penalty.
Yeah. So yeah, there was no like trial with a jury or even a just a bench trial. But he was sentenced to those 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus an extra term for the burglary charge. Wow, I can't speak. So, and also, like we've said a bunch of times, that they have investigators have like assembled this detailed idea timeline of everything that happened. There really hasn't been a motive that's been definitive. And it's, again, there's no motive that they found. It kind of remains unclear why some victims were targeted, others weren't, why their house was targeted, why another house next door wasn't targeted. Yeah, it's very puzzling to think
Well,
about.
it's the hard thing again with these plea agreements
Mm-hmm.
because it is like, well, the parents never they get closure to a point, but it's not as if he's sitting there able to give a motive as
Yeah.
to why, or at least like the district attorney's office being able to come up with a
Mm-hmm.
reason as to why he did this thing. And it does leave questions of, was it even him? I think about that too sometimes, of
Yeah.
can I sit here and say without a doubt that he's the one that committed the murders, or is it just what it looks like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just like so weird that there's no like I feel like usually a lot of the times like the motive is what you're able to figure out first or at least towards the beginning.
Well, he had no
Um
connection to these people.
exactly.
He wasn't family, he wasn't friends, and the
No.
only possible thing is in his head he goes, "Well, if I want to be a PhD student who or a PhD professor who teaches individuals about criminology and crime, the one thing I need to do is know how to get away with it," which is so messed up. But
Personally, I've never thought that one time.
no, I don't think most people have. But
Ugh.
he could be the oddball who sits there and thinks that that's what he
It gives
had
them
to
some like
do.
leg up or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Like,
it's
if I get
very
away with murder, I can teach people all about how to find out how to.
why
It's
they
like
do
how to get
what they
away
do.
with murder, but how to
Ugh.
teach people how to figure out a murderer.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Neither do
And I also
I.
feel really bad for the 2 living roommates
Oh my
because
gosh, I would be
we've seen it all over social
mortified.
media, but like the survivor's guilt must be absolutely horrendous.
Well,
Like you
and
just lost
people
4 of your best friends, three to
Well, and
four of your best
people
friends.
also keep saying how they kind of meant for this to happen, all these things. Um, and how they don't understand how the rest of them died and they lived. It just, even survivors go past that social media. I mean, I'm sure they were patronized forever. I'm
They
sure they still
were.
are.
Yeah. Like
I
I
keep
remember,
yawning.
it's okay. It's been a long weekend. I remember just like seeing the social media and like they immediately like their accounts were private. Like everyone was
Mm-hmm.
just like comments were turned off, obviously. And there was like so much support around the 4 victims, like who got killed,
Yeah, but
and
not
their
around the
families were
roommates who
sharing, but not
survived.
around exactly.
Yeah,
Like I
it's
can't
hard.
even imagine that at all. Like they must have been so scared. Um, yeah, no, it's so scary.
So scary. And again, a
Oh,
lot of this comes, it's in this episode is slightly shorter just because a lot of it did come to such a conclusion so quickly,
yeah.
where in many ways we never got answers to everything,
Hmm.
because there was no trial. It just was, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the plea and not die.
Hmm.
So maybe one day we'll know a little bit more, but right now
Hmm.
it's all just kind of, he did it, case
I hope so for
closed.
my sake that
Me
there's
as well.
some type of closure. And I obviously the parents and the families, but like even Ethan, he's a triplet. Like his other siblings,
Yeah.
like ugh, like it's just not it's not supposed to happen, obviously, and it's just really
No.
sad.
Well, on our
You're
always
always like,
positive note, on our always, always, always positive note, we're gonna get into our favorite section. Our frequently asked questions section.
yes.
Yes. So the first one is like, what do people want to know what the motive was?
Mhm.
Obviously, I've shared my thoughts. Emily, what do you think the motive was?
I do feel like Kaylee was probably targeted. I'm
Mm,
wondering if it was like he saw her at a bar, maybe followed her home. I'm not sure. Obviously, they lived like within 20 minutes. I think it was like 15 minutes. So I don't know if maybe since they did go downtown that night, I'm wondering they probably went downtown to a bar at another point. Maybe he saw them there and then went from there. Like stalker to killer, unfortunately.
mm,
I think the others were just unfortunately like collateral, not damage because that sounds horrible, but like I think they were just wrong place, wrong time. I do feel like from everything that we've heard or like seen that it probably was Kaylee who was targeted, which also like feels so
mm-hmm.
bad. Um,
I think he's just psychotic and wanted to do how to get away with murder. And he picked a victim. I for sure think it was targeted, but I
yeah.
think that it was he found someone who it was close enough to where he could get to it quickly and far enough
Hmm.
away to where he wouldn't be an immediate suspect. So I
Right.
think it
And
was a
I'm
bizarre.
thinking that he kind of just wanted to prove it to himself that he could do it,
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of thinking. So
which is
big no
disgusting.
no. Big no
Yeah.
no.
Mm-mm.
Uh, well, our next question. Where's the murder weapon? They found no murder weapon.
Hmm.
It is still believed to be missing. They don't know what he did with it or where it is. They think that it is a fixed blade knife, which is pretty much just a very sharp knife.
Hmm.
The tan leather knife sheath where that covers the knife, where they found the DNA. We have two different things where some say they found it in the like trash of an off-campus house. There was another report saying it was found in Morgan's bed.
Hmm.
Um,
I think it was.
Mogan's bed. Apologies.
I think there was something on her bed that was like I can't remember if it was like his blood or something. I feel like there was something on her bed that like connected it back to him. But
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right that what we said earlier about how the knife sheath was in like a trash or like by somebody else's house. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
So they
but I
found
do
that, but
believe that there was something on her bed that connected him
linked
to.
him. Yeah.
Hmm.
So they found that, but that's about it. So they're still looking to this day, but they're pretty much like case closed. There's nothing we can do unless it comes up on its own.
Hmm.
Where are the two surviving roommates slash why were they spared? Two surviving roommates, right in terms of now, they're very much out of the public eye. They keep to
Hmm.
themselves, obviously faced a lot of public scrutiny. So they're probably off doing whatever they're doing, just trying to avoid everybody.
Yeah.
Um, they were on the first floor of the apartment or the house when this all happened. And again, like Emily said, the house is very oddly designed to where the
Hmm.
first floor is like the basement and the third floor is like the actual floor.
Hmm.
So they were spared, but again, this attack believed to be targeted in some way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
Kaylee was kind of the main target, but others were obviously grouped into that, and they don't really know why the two other roommates were spared.
Hmm.
Um, which hopefully they can move past this or at least find some relief in whatever is after this. But yeah,
Yeah.
they're alive and living.
Yeah. I think thankfully they are should be graduated by now and hopefully are with
Just
support
living. Yeah.
people giving them support. Um, the next question is talking about why did Koberger plead guilty? He wanted to avoid the death penalty, which we said before, and rather than going through the whole trial to just be put on death penalty and executed. I
You
wish
gotta
that
do
we
what
knew
you
more
gotta do,
information.
I guess.
I wish we knew more information, but again, I hope, like, since he is alive and he wasn't executed, that maybe, hopefully at some point down the road for these families, maybe there will be some more information that comes out or investigated. But he is, actually, the next question we're going to talk about is, like, what has it been like for him? Where is he? And kind of that. So, like I was just going to say, he's still in prison. He is in the Idaho Maximum Security Institution. He is in solitary confinement, or like he's in like the worst place that he can be. He lives in the cell 23 hours a day. He has 1 hour of outdoor time. So he doesn't have the best life. Obviously, he's still alive, but doesn't seem too riveting.
I mean, he killed 4 people. They're kind of like, yeah,
Exactly. He
you're gonna
deserves
live out
it.
your days, yeah.
Right. And the inmates aren't super nice to him. They taunt him, all of that. He's filed many complaints about
The
his time.
complaints are actually really goofy if you read them. After he was sent to prison, they're so funny. He'll be like, "It's too loud," or "My cell
We'll
isn't
put you
clean."
somewhere more secure then.
Yeah, it's little things like that where it's written complaints that you can't find on the internet of him just complaining about how his life in prison sucks after he pled guilty. He also chose to plead guilty.
Yeah.
Which I think obviously I don't know how the jury trial would have turned out, but I do think it's interesting how now he's complaining. It's like, well, you did plead guilty to killing 4 people.
Yeah. Yeah. You literally did that to yourself. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Ugh.
I love when we end on these
Like,
notes.
I need to like meditate after this. Ugh,
Oh,
yeah. No, it's so sad and it's so scary. And I think about him in this case like at least twice a week. Every night when I lock my door before bed, I'm like,
same here. I don't live in an apartment right now, but I do think, what if I don't lock my door tonight?
yeah,
So a
yeah,
reminder, always lock your doors, and on top of that, always just be wary. If you feel like there's something off, call the police. If there's
yeah.
something off with someone else
Better
in
to
your
be
home,
safe than
call the
sorry.
police. All those things. Again, we save lives with this podcast. Hopefully one day we can get a comment being like, "You saved my life from murder."
Yeah. We are I cut this out. I was gonna be like, he decided to murder with his degree, but we're saving murder. We're saving victims. But cut it out. That's not what I'm gonna say.
Well,
That's bad.
on
That's out
that
of, or not out of
lovely
touch. What is it? That's
in I was gonna say insecure, but that's not it either.
not what I was thinking.
Well,
Anyways.
on this lovely note, again, as always, thank you for listening. If you want us to go in depth with this case a little bit more, or with other cases, leave a comment. If there's someone in particular you want us to talk about, which a couple of you have left suggestions, please leave a comment on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, wherever you feel like listening to.
We
Yeah,
love
and
saying that. Wherever you listen to your podcasts.
it's literally my favorite part. Now that we're international, it's my favorite part.
I know. We
Ah,
love all of you guys. We love all of
hopefully,
our friends.
hopefully our European listeners enjoyed last week's episode, and
Yes.
hopefully you enjoy another American horror story.
Yes. Yeah.
But
It's so hard being like, we hope you enjoyed.
yeah, I don't know what to say. This is why my
No,
intros are so awkward and my endings are so awkward because I'm like, well, we're about to talk about more murder, or we're
I
just
know.
finished talking about murder for 40 minutes, and here we are. But
Yeah. I hope that it's always like we're investigating these stories and telling you guys these stories to like
we investigate so
keep
you don't have
their
to.
right, and just to like keep their memories alive. Like for these
That's
families
true.
at least, like they don't have a lot of like actual closure. So I feel like I don't know. I
That's a
think
good
it's
point
always
too. We're
interesting
keeping
to
victims' memories alive.
we are. We're spreading their stories.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
Thanks, everyone.
thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another new episode. And again, subscribe, all those fun things. We love our listeners, and we will see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.